In another twist to Sean Diddy Combs' ongoing legal saga, an A-list celeb is reportedly embarrassed and horrified about the potential release of a Diddy freak-off sex tape that's allegedly being shopped around. The alleged sex tape was first alluded to by the former lawyer of Diddy's accuser, Adria English. Ariel Mitchell-Kidd said she was contacted about the sale of one of the Diddy tapes, but didn't reveal who was in the video, but said Diddy and someone high profile could be seen in the sex tape. In a late September interview on News Nation's Banfield, Mitchell-Kidd said she wouldn't reveal who the celeb was, but said the tapes were leaking around Hollywood.
Mr. Combs was in the tape, and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile than Mr. Combs.
Really? Really? And you've seen it?
I've seen stills of the video.
According to an article in the New York Post, the video allegedly appears to show Combs having sex with a young male A-lister whose faces are both visible. In a return interview on News Nation's Banfield, Mitchell-Kidd revealed one or two major news networks are in a bidding war for the footage.
The person who has the tape really doesn't want to shop it around. They really want to help and give it to wanted to directly sell it to that person, but it seems as if they are going elsewhere. I believe we're sooner rather than later maybe finding out, unless that person comes and purchases the video themselves, which is really the goal of the people who have the video. They just, at this point, if that person doesn't want to purchase it, then it's going to go on the open market.
That A-lister, who is reportedly the subject of the tape, is now horrified the footage is being shopped around the media outlets, according to the star's inner circle. An insider told the Post it's triggering and a nightmare for the star. The insider said it feels like a betrayal and a violation, and it's causing a lot of issues. It brings up some really disturbing and bad memories. He feels like he was victimized years ago and is now being victimized yet again. If this footage gets out, it will follow him for life. It'll be on the internet forever. A second source told the New York Post the celeb is trying to ignore the chatter about the video. That second source told the outlet there's not much he can do about it if there was a video taken without his knowledge that somehow gets out. So all he can do is pray. He's praying that all of this goes away. The Post also didn't name the A-lister because it's unclear if the mystery celeb was a victim of a sex crime or if he was an adult at the time of the footage. An officer with the Department of Homeland Security who helped in the raids on Diddy's Miami home back in March told the Post there were recognizable names in the footage they recovered, but couldn't confirm any names. There are a lot of tough stories that we cover here at Law&Crime, and part of the reason we're able to keep bringing you these types of stories is because of our great sponsors. So I want to take this time to really quickly thank Upside for sponsoring us. If you're wondering what's Upside, well, it's a free, yes, free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. And it's actual real cash back too. The money appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So here's what you do. You download the Upside app, then claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. I went to 7-Eleven, got some snacks, some candy, and used the app. Honestly, it's super simple. You can use the app at places like Shell, Exxon, and fast food favorites like Taco Bell, and that's just to name a few. So to find out how much you could earn, download Upside or click the link in the description and use our promo code LCNews to get 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Again, that's promo code LCNews for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. Last month, Combs pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. But his attorneys are hopeful to get the disgraced mogul out of jail ahead of trial, as they recently appealed the bail order and hoping third time's a charm. Since being locked up, the Bad Boy Records founder has faced a wave of new allegations of sexual assault. Last week, Texas-based attorney Tony Busby announced about 120 victims, some including minors, will file lawsuits against Combs for sexual assault. Diddy's attorney Erica Wolf denied the claims against the hip-hop producer, saying in part, quote, Mr. Combs emphatically and categorically denies as false and defamatory any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors. And while many famous faces who have once mixed and mingled with Diddy have kept tight-lipped about the mogul's arrest, his family has stood by him. Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, released a statement over the weekend saying her son isn't a monster. She wrote in part, quote, "It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies. To bear witness to what seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has had the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put into words. Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court to finally share his side and to prove his innocence," end quote. With no trial date set just yet, Diddy still remains locked up in a federal detention center in Brooklyn, New York. Now, we have a lot to break down, so joining us now is a great guest, and that's attorney Mitra Ahorian. Mitra, it's so great to see you. You know, Diddy has been behind bars now about 3 weeks, but take me back to when you first found out he was arrested. What was your reaction to that, and what went through your mind?
I think the first thing that went through my mind is, oh, wow. Because of the way that there were the raids on the home and the severity of it. I live right down the street from his home in Holmby Hills, very familiar, literally a few houses down from the park I take my dog to every day. So when it happened, it was just this very dramatic of like, oh, what's going on? What could be so serious? And then when the information started to sort of come out, then my reaction changed to like, oh, okay, that makes sense, which is kind of a weird reaction to have to something like this. But, you know, having grown up in LA and being very familiar with Hollywood and knowing people that have worked with him and worked for him, it kind of was like, okay, we'll see how much of this is real, but also it's not so far off that, you know, I'm kind of like clutching my pearls about it.
And there's been a lot of discussion about who's on the tapes. But now, according to reports, an A-list celeb is reportedly horrified about the possible/potential release of a sex tape, which allegedly showed Diddy having sex with this young celebrity. While we don't know who that A-lister is, what are your thoughts? And should celebrities be worried right now?
I would be very worried for a couple of reasons. One, he is known to have filmed. Diddy is known to have filmed many of these acts. That was, you know, allegedly, part of the evidence here is that there was, you know, a lot of things on tape. Of course, we haven't seen anything, but the allegation is that part of, you know, the crime was filming people. And, you know, the second part of that is Diddy is huge. You know, if you're a celebrity, you have interacted with Diddy, you've wanted to interact with Diddy, and he's, you know, thrown parties that you probably went to. And so, you know, he was so ubiquitous for so long that it's impossible for, you know, somebody who, you know, is in sort of this A-list world to not have come in contact with him and probably been friendly and chummy and, you know, and sort of not knowing in this, you know, era of, okay, what's going to come out, who was there, and this culture of, you know, we love tearing down celebrities. We love putting them on pedestals just so we can tear them down. And so, you know, having this sort of climate, I think that anyone who was anywhere near him is probably nervous right now.
And what do you make of this whole shopping around a sex tape? Is that even legal? Is that something that can even be done?
Well, the first question is who owns the copyright to that video, right? So if you don't own the copyright and you're selling it or distributing it or publishing it, then obviously that's an infringement, a copyright infringement. But of course, you know, how are we going to prove that? You know, once something is out on the internet, it's out on the internet. So there's that element of it. And then there's also, you know, depending on who it is that released it, there's some revenge porn laws that vary from state to state. You know, but we see this all the time. We see, you know, photographs being sold to media outlets. And we see, you know, it's sort of, and people have anonymous sources. They never really, you know, they don't have to release where it came from.
In your opinion, you know, living in Hollywood, living in the LA area, what's kind of been the mood there since Diddy's arrest? You know, a lot of celebrities have been tight-lipped, even though they did have previous relationships with Diddy, whether that be business or personal. But what's kind of been the mood in Hollywood since Diddy's arrest?
Yeah, oddly quiet. There isn't a ton of talk about, you know, what's going on. And I think everyone is just sort of waiting to see what happens. You know, there's a trial happening, so I think everyone is sort of waiting to see what comes out.
And so far, the only people who have publicly supported Diddy have been his family. Is that surprising to you, given his connections in Hollywood?
It's not at all. It's just too soon. It's too soon for anyone to say anything right now. And I'm sure people do not want to be called in as witnesses. So if there is somebody who knows something that is, you know, that speaks out, then that means they could now be called in to a very public trial and their statements could be made even more public or scrutinized. You know, so there's that element in addition to the affiliation. So I am not surprised at that at all.
Now, come trial, do you expect celebrities to be supportive of Diddy?
I don't know about supportive. I think they will be unwillingly subpoenaed and feel, a bit nervous and having to walk a fine line. A couple things. One is, allegedly Diddy has, not only does he have a lot of power, but he's, threatened people. One of the allegations against him is witness tampering, is that, he does try to intimidate people from testifying against him or from speaking out. It's one of the reasons that, people say that nobody came out about this sooner. So if you're actually being called to testify and you have to be truthful, but you're also scared and nervous, I think that's going to be a very fine line for people, for people who are brought in to testify. And then there's also this aspect of self-incrimination, right? So if they were somehow involved, that's when we get sort of the Fifth Amendment pleas coming in, and so there's a lot going on when we start to talk about witnesses coming into trial.
There seems to be a lot of layers that keep on happening. Every week there's kind of this new story. But now Diddy has a hearing on Thursday. He's going for bail, hopefully for a third time. Do you expect it to be successful now that he's added 2 more attorneys to his team?
I don't know that matters. I think that keep trying. I think the last round, I don't know this round and last round, but they're asking for $50 million in bail, which is not a small amount. But the thing is, that the thing with bail is you're worried about a few things, one of which is, the flight risk, right? So if somebody is a flight risk, which Diddy can very easily get out of the country, well, I don't know about easily now, but much more easily than somebody else who's got to get on a commercial plane and doesn't have a lot of money. So there's that aspect of it. I think that's real. And then the second aspect of it, he has been accused of tampering with witnesses, intimidating people to not speak out against him. And the idea being that if he is sort of out there and free, there is a possibility for him to do those types of things. And then the third element of that would be whether he's, a threat to society, which, if the allegations are true and if people are scared to receive, repercussions from speaking out against him, then potentially a danger as well. So for all, there's a lot of reasons why I don't see bail being granted.
Right. Mitra, I really appreciate your insight into this whole ever-going saga that is Diddy. Before we sign you off, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm watching closely, so we'll see how this all unfolds, and I know that you are as well. So I look forward to having another conversation with you as more facts start to come out.
Great. Well, Mitra, thank you again so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Through an attorney, Sean Combs, aka Diddy, has denied all allegations against him. His lawyers say he's innocent and he'll fight every day to clear his name. Combs is set to appear in court again this week under a new judge. That hearing will take place on October 10th. And Law&Crime will be at the courthouse, so we'll keep you updated on any new developments as soon as they happen. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.